what you're seeing is quite a bit different than what I'm seeing.
How is it different?
It is great how different I am to see who I am. I'm still Kim, no matter how you look at me.
And the Oscar goes to Dustin Hoffman for Raymond.
1989 tar Dustin Hoffman emot en Oscar för rollen som Raymond Babbitt i filmen Rain Man. I filmen porträtteras en autistisk savant. En socialt missanpassad person men med nästan övermänskliga förmågor att memorera fakta. Dustins förebild för rollen finns i verkligheten. Han heter Kim Peek och bor i Salt Lake City, USA.
This is your morning DJ. Here we go.
Kim, what was the 42nd Friday, 1899?
21st of October. Good man know you, good man.
You see a genius or prodigy in the presence of a handicap.
This is a normal brain that you see. This is Kim.
When was Johann Sebastian Bach born?
1685, 1750.
And died?
Yeah, I did it both times, all the way.
He could read a page that I would read in 3 minutes. He would read it in 8 to 10 seconds. I remember half of it. He remembers all of it.
This is a character in search of a movie.
January 27th, 1756, 250 years.
And I felt like if I could come up with a story...
Here we go.
This character would be something no one has ever seen before.
At 9 months, they said he'll never be able to learn, he'll never be able to walk, he'll never be able to do anything. You should institutionalize him and forget about him.
Verklighetens Rain Man bor tillsammans med sin 80-åriga pappa Fran och tillbringar nästan all sin vakna tid åt att läsa.
I get up in the morning about 5, and then I go, and then I often go down and read the paper for about an hour. Then I have breakfast. Then I rest around the house until about noon, until the mail comes. And then I come here. Here we go. Here we go. And here we go. Then I have to come back down again.
Kim är 54 år och förståndshandikappad. Han kan varken knyta skorna, tvätta sig eller göra en smörgås själv. När han var 25 tog det till exempel hans pappa 3 år att lära Kim ta bussen på egen hand. Men så för att kompensera sina motoriska och sociala tillkortakommanden har Kim utrustats med en hjärna som förbryllar forskarna och som förbluffar alla som möter honom. Kim minns nämligen allt han läser. Han har avverkat 10 000 böcker och klassas som ett geni inom 15 olika områden. Kim har den ytterst sällsynta diagnosen Savant syndrom.
Well, Savant syndrome is a condition in which somebody with a mental handicap has some island of genius that stands in stark contrast to that overall handicap. About half of the savants are autistic. The other half have other central nervous system abnormalities. It could be mental retardation, it could be some kind of head injury. And whatever the particular skill is, the island of genius, it's always accompanied by a massive memory.
You know that?
När jag träffar Kim Peek är han precis som filmkaraktären Rain Man i färd med att läsa telefonkatalogen.
4, 6, 6, 4, 4. I have been doing this the last 3 or 4 years. I still am a man of importance.
Kims högst personliga projekt går ut på att gå igenom USAs alla telefonkataloger sedan 1800-talet. Bland cirka 350 miljoner abonnenter letar Kim efter personer med samma efternamn och som dessutom delar samma sista 4 siffror. En till synes både onödig och hopplös uppgift för dig och mig, men en alldeles utmärkt utmaning för någon med Kims hjärnkapacitet.
When he reads paperback books, his left eye reads the left page, right eye reads the right page, same time.
Left page of the left eye and the right page of the right eye.
Kim tar inte bara in allt han läser också enormt fort.
I took that same reading test he took at UCLA psychology department. He read 8 pages in 53 seconds and had a 98.7% recall, and I read the same 8 pages in 23 minutes. I had a 45% recall, which was normal.
Med fakta från 10 000 böcker i huvudet är Kim självklart ett vandrande lexikon. Men att hålla en normal konversation med Kim är svårt. På grund av sitt mentala handikapp har han problem att resonera och dra slutsatser. Han trivs bäst när han får agera professor och briljera med sina inlärda kunskaper.
When was Benito Mussolini born?
1883, 1945.
When did they occupy Ethiopia? And
1935, 36.
when was Winston Churchill born?
1864, 1965.
The savant has what's called a habit memory. And that means that it's more of a procedural or a automatic memory, and exceedingly deep. I mean, he will read a page in 7 or 8 seconds. That would take me, 4 or 5 minutes, and then it automatically and unconsciously goes to his hard disk, and it's stored there.
C.S. Lewis, JFK, and Aldous Huxley, all 3 men died in 24 hours. You know that? 24 within 24 hours.
Jo då, alla 3 dog 1963 den 22 november. Har då några av de 10 000 böcker Kim läst innehållit någonting om Sverige? Jag testar vad Kim vet om till exempel vår älskade kungafamilj.
The Swedish royal family descends from the Bernadottes. Who was the first Bernadottes?
The married 1798 at Sceaux, France.
Who married?
The John Bernadotte and Desiree Clary. Charles Jean Bernadotte died in 1844.
And who was the Swedish king after him?
There was Oscar, born on the 4th of July, 1799.
It's the rapidity with which he stores information, the fidelity with which he restores it, and the magnitude with which he stores it are simply unprecedented, in my view, in all of the savant literature.
When did they sign the Westphalian Peace?
October 1648.
Battle in Poltava.
1709.
When was Mozart born?
January 27th, 1756, 250 years. December 5th, 1791, he died.
I don't know if he's got a delete button.
When was the inauguration of Lyndon Johnson?
November 22nd, 1963, was sworn in on Air Force One by a woman judge.
I learn a lot from him because I have to be able to figure out what he's talking about.
What are the 3 major cities in Norway?
Oslo, Bergen, and Trondheim.
In Sweden?
There's Stockholm, Göteborg, and Malmö.
That's right. And Denmark?
Copenhagen, Odense, and Aros.
That's right.
Kims hjärna anses vara så anmärkningsvärd att den amerikanska rymdstyrelsen NASA kontaktade Fran för några år sedan.
The NASA Artificial Intelligence Project want to try to reproduce his brain and put it into software in computers.
They're trying to make a brain like mine.
Their hope is that they can build some kind of model of the brain.
Eftersom Kim kan longituderna och latituderna på jorden utantill försöker NASA med hjälp av bilder på Kims hjärna bygga en superdator som ska kunna förutse var eventuella meteoriter kan komma att träffa jorden. NASA har dessutom uppgraderat Kim från Savant till Mega-Savant. Den som först intresserade sig för Kims hjärna var neuropsykiatrikern Dan Christensen. I jakten på ett svar på hur en förståndshandikappad kunde ha såna här talanger tog Dan 1987 med hjälp av en helt ny teknik, magnetröntgen eller MRI, de första bilderna på Kims hjärna.
I've known him for 23 years now.
One of the problems, of course, is this is very rare, the Savant syndrome is very rare. It's not like you can gather up a group of 200 of them and study their brain and figure it out. I mean, you're lucky in your lifetime to meet one.
No.
These are the original MRIs.
That's the brain mount from a long time ago.
This is a normal brain that you see. This is Kim. This is actual fibers that are crossing from left to right. They're connecting your left hemisphere to your right hemisphere. The name for this is the corpus callosum. Now notice on Kim, they're not there. There is no corpus callosum here. There are actually three structures that do this connecting. This is the major one, but there's a second one here called the anterior commissure, and then another one back here. He doesn't have any of them.
What does that mean exactly?
That means that there are no fibers that allow the left brain to talk to the right brain. And this is one of the very interesting aspects of Kim's situation. You would expect almost to find something extra in his brain, something that gave him a talent or a memory that you and I don't have. But you don't see it. You see a brain that looks damaged.
There is injury generally to the left hemisphere of the brain with a right brain compensation. So the skill is there as a compensation. It may not be so much that the right hemisphere develops new skills, but rather it escapes from what some people have called the tyranny of the left hemisphere, and those skills then emerge. So it's sort of a disinhibition. It's much like a blind person might have better hearing or other senses to compensate for not being able to see.
Chopin, February 10th, 1810, October 16th, 1849.
The issue isn't that he can store so much more. The issue is he sort of has access to it.
Nutcracker, Waltz of the Flowers, Tchaikovsky.
If we only knew how to tap it, I would guess that you remember many, many, many things that you don't have access to like that, but you can't just go back in and grab it. And my guess is with Kim, it's simply he has no barriers there. He just has ready access to anything that has gone in.
This was Rachmaninoff still.
Do you know what it's called, this piece?
Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini, 18th variation. He wrote it in 1934.
Forgetting is actually kind of a blessing. There's lots of stuff that you don't want to remember. Kim doesn't have that ability.
Kim Peek har ständigt tusentals årtal, låtar, datum och citat i huvudet. Och hänga med i hans tempo är en utmaning.
You can, who could know it, and who could ask for more, but when you know about it, don't forget to name the other four.
I want to ask you one question when we're walking here. Kim, I want to ask you one question when we're here. My brother is born on the 27th of April, 1971.
It was a Tuesday, and this year it's Thursday. We turned 23/6 on a Sunday.
The Savant has no idea how he does it, or has not able. All he says, it's in my head. That's how I do it.
How can you know what day of the week he was born?
I just have this is your morning DJ.
But
you know, Dad, guess what I told him about certain dates? And I said, this is your morning DJ.
He's using sort of what is called preconscious or unconscious circuitry, and there are ways to measure that now.
Men jag ger mig ändå på ett försök att få fram en förklaring från Kim själv om hemligheten bakom hans reptilsnabba kalenderberäkning.
How do you count that out, Kim?
Really good to cancel it out.
How do you know that?
Yes.
Fair enough. Jag gör ett nytt försök och ger Kim en till synes omöjlig beräkning.
When was the 8th Monday, 1826?
8th Monday, 1826 was February 20th.
How do you know that? How can you come up to that?
You're a good man to see.
But how do you think when you come up with that date so fast?
Yeah, I really can come up with things that you look at. You know that, sir. But time is running out. You know what I mean? That's what they don't want you to look for, but time is running out.
The only thing he can't do is things that require reasoning.
The ability to synthesize a concept or to draw a generalization or an abstract kind of meaning from something.
Blank.
Inability.
Kim, what is love?
What is love is not till hereafter. You know this. Where is the love I want to find if I till the end of time, and I know why.
They could read a whole book and recite or a chapter of a book, but if you said, well, now tell me what you just read, what did that mean? They have no reckoning.
What is happiness to you, Kim?
Happiness means more to me, even if I have to, but even if I see a charming prince.
When was President Roosevelt's birthday?
January 30th, 1882.
That's his communication. That's his language. I mean, his talking to you about your birth date and what day you're going to retire is his way of communicating. That's his language.
Innan filmen Rain Man var Kim folkskygg och låg helst begravd i sina böcker. Idag har det försvunnit totalt. Kim rör sig otvunget i slott som koja och överraskar inte sällan vilt främmande sällskap med diverse anekdoter.
When he was 16, what was the best picture?
Da, 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 da. They're bugging us next door.
It's been reported in some other savants along the way as wit or puns. He's a great punster at this point.
Where are you from?
Houston, Texas.
Houston, we've got a problem. You've been gumped.
Houston, we have a problem, sa Tom Hanks i filmen Apollo 13. Tom Hanks spelade också i filmen Forrest Gump. Varför flickan från Houston i Kims värld blivit just gumped.
He's often 2 or 3 steps ahead with his puns.
Personer med Savant syndrom har ofta ett outvecklat känsloliv. Emotionella uttryck består inte sällan i sporadiska vredesutbrott och frustration. Men efter år av socialt umgänge har Kim även utvecklat den sidan.
Has he been in love?
No, I don't see that, but he loves people, loves adults. He talks about his mom, how much he loves her.
Många savanter är också obekväma med fysisk kontakt. Men Kim har börjat göra små trevande och experimentella försök till intimitet och går som det känslomässiga barn han är på upptäcktsfärd för att liksom testa sina egna gränser. Och under våra sista dagar med Kim lämnar han plötsligt sin värld av ändlösa svar och visar på sitt eget vis att han uppskattar vår närvaro. Något som känns både hjärtligt och överraskande.
Well, when you tape it like that, I think you want to dance with me, Kim.
No. You have been made yourself, Anders, like a man of important statute, beyond whom you are.
När Kim föddes, söndagen den 11 november 1951, såg barnmorskan omedelbart att något inte stod rätt till.
She says, you think that baby's too small for that bed? And then they found out they didn't even know that my head was so large.
When he was born, his head was a third larger than normal and flopped onto his chest because his neck muscles couldn't hold it.
Att ha en efterbliven son i 50-talets USA var varken socialt accepterat eller något som sjukhusvården hade resurser till. Läkarna dömde tidigt ut Kims chanser och rådde Fran att sätta Kim på mentalsjukhus.
At 9 months they said he'll never be able to learn, he'll never be able to walk, he'll never be able to do anything. You should institutionalize him and forget about it.
Men Fran och Kims mamma Jeannie vägrade att skicka iväg honom. De bestämde sig för att ta hand om Kim hemma tillsammans med sina 2 syskon.
It was really hard on mom and dad. For the first 4 years of my life, I was propped up on a sofa. Wasn't I dead? I was propped up on a sofa all the time.
When he tried to crawl, he had to put his forehead on the ground like a snowplow. We kept him by himself. The children couldn't play with him because he couldn't physically meld with them. He talked a lot. He used big words.
Även om Kim har svårt att både prata om och förstå känslor då som nu, så berättar han för mig att han ofta grät som liten.
I used to do a lot, but I don't do that much anymore.
Why did you cry when you were younger?
Because I was not used to instructions that Mom and Dad gave me, and I wanted to do what the other kids wanted to do.
Kims tidiga intresse för tidningar och facklitteratur verkade vara lika outtömligt som fascinerande för hans föräldrar. Fran minns speciellt en dag när Kim bara var 3 år.
One morning after we put him down on the floor after breakfast, he wanted to know what the word confidential meant. And my wife says, "Where did you see a word like that?" He says, "You haven't read the paper, it's right here." And he talked to us in the same English that we talked. He was turning pages so fast in the books he was reading in the magazines. I thought he was just kind of skip reading, but he was remembering everything.
One of the best things I still think about, I couldn't get any formal schooling, so they hired me tutors.
His vocabulary was growing really fast. He started to memorize everything that came into the house. When he was 4 and a half, he memorized the first 8 volumes of the books of knowledge. And when we used to ride in the car, he'd stand up on the front seat and he would add up the license plates of the cars that were in front of us and tell us what the model was and when it was made, and what are the cars when it was first made, and all this stuff.
Den stora vändpunkten i Kims liv skulle komma 1986 tack vare en manusförfattare i Santa Barbara. Manusförfattaren Barry Morrow hade gjort ett flertal filmer om mentalt handikappade. Han hade vårdnaden själv om en utvecklingsstörd man och var van att umgås med efterblivna personer. Och Barrys möte med Kim Peek skulle inte bara resultera i en Oscar för bästa manus till filmen Rain Man. Det skulle också förvandla en folkskygg och introvert 37-åring från Salt Lake City.
I was at a convention in Texas, and there I felt someone tap me on the shoulder, and I turned around, and right in my face was Rain Man. His name wasn't Rain Man then, it was Kim Peek. No one was talking to Kim, but I did. And within moments, I recognized that there was something very different going on inside of this head, large head. This was like the first time that Kim had ever been in public where he engaged a person in a conversation.
Before the movie Rain Man, if company came to the house, he would run and hide in the closet until they left.
Until I met Barry, I couldn't look right at a person's eyes. Now I can, because Rain Man changed my life.
I almost like Kim was brand new in my life with all the things Barry told me about him.
I didn't realize I was unlocking any Pandora's box, but what I did do when I flew home, all the way on the airplane, I kept thinking, this is a character in search of a movie. And I felt like if I could come up with a story, this character would be something no one has ever seen before. I wrote down autistic savant, Kim Peek, 1986, Arlington, Texas. And I started to see the bones of a story develop. Still, what was missing is what launches the story. What's the twist? What's different? I'm going to give him a brother. A brother he doesn't know he had. Two disconnected brothers, one unredeemed man and one unrealized human being, and it all comes together. When their foreheads touch, none of those other things can compare to what humans are about. It's about touching and loving.
I like having you for my big brother.
Yeah. C-H-A-R-L-I-E. Rain Man.
Barry presenterade sin historia för filmbolaget. Men efter att ha läst om Rain Man eller Kim Peeks förmågor att memorera telefonkatalogen, rabbla datum och recitera lexikon hade producenten svårt att tro på honom.
So the guy says, "Are you making this up?" And I said, "Well, yeah, the story I'm making up, but the character is real. I've met him. You can meet him." They wanted to meet him to make sure I'm certain that I wasn't just making up such a character. And, you know, and the reality is no one could make up a character like Kim Peek.
Den kanske mest klassiska scenen i Rain Man är när Raymond Babbitt eller Dustin Hoffman räknar kort vid Blackjack-bordet i Las Vegas. Och Barry berättar att han under manusarbetet tog med sig Kim till Reno i Nevada för att få Kim att just räkna kort.
And I wanted to see if I could, well, validate my theory that a person could not only count cards, but count into a 4 or 5 shoe deck, which I didn't know anything about cards. I'm not a gambler. I had to read this book called How to Beat the Casino, I think it was called. Fran was off doing something, and Kim and I were sitting alone in a lounge. And I said, "Excuse me, I think I wanted to go take an aspirin or something." I was gone just but 4 or 5 minutes. I came back and I said, "All right, now Kim, this book I have, I would like you to, you know, read it sometime today." And he said, "I read the book." And I said, "No, this book here that I just brought." He said, "I read that book." I said, "You have a copy at home?" "No, I read that book." "Oh, how did you read that book?" "Because when you went to the bathroom." I said, "You read this book in 5 minutes?" He says, "Only 147 pages." And, well, actually, that's more like Dustin Hoffman.
246.
I get blended. To test him, I flipped it to like page 86, and I started reading the top lines, and he finished the sentence for me. So I realized he read the book. And I said, "Well, then you get it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to go out there into that lounge where all those tables are, and we are going to win some money." He said, "No, I can't do it." I said, "Why?" "It's not fair." "Wait, Kim, I travel a long ways, you travel a long ways, your dad agreed to all of this, you read the book, all we have to do is walk over there and just one card of, you know, hand of cards. It's not fair." So he wouldn't do it. And so I have to admit here, for the first time ever, that, you know, he didn't really do it, but he said he could. And that was enough for me in Hollywood.
Right after Rain Man came out, we had the police department ask us not to let him wait on the corners because they were concerned, because we have a gambling casino at the time, which is an hour and a half from Salt Lake City, and they were afraid some jerk would pick him up maybe and take him out to gamble, and if he wouldn't gamble, they might not, you know, just leave him around.
Who won for best male actor in 1982?
It was Ben Kingsley for Gandhi. Kingsley for Gandhi.
Who was the best movie in 1943?
Casablanca. And USV well mastered, and Bogey is the bastard and you've got to know why. Where are the clowns? Remember that?
Who won for best movie in 1927?
Is it Wings? One day, little girl, new battles are won alone.
Best movie 1951.
Na na. What
was that? What was that, Kim?
That was An American in Paris.
American in Paris won 1951.
You know that?
Who was in that movie?
That was Gene Kelly, Leslie Caron, and it was Gershwin.
And who was the best movie in 1988?
Rain Man is me.
Så verklighetens Rain Man åkte 1987 västerut för att träffa Hollywoods blivande Rain Man, Dustin Hoffman, tillsammans med Barry Morrow, Tom Cruise och inspelningsteamet.
Well, we went to Hollywood. Barry Morrow had picked us up the night before at the airport.
They didn't know what was going on. I mean, I asked permission, well in advance to write it.
And we went over to the studio. It was called the Rain Man Studio.
And then Dustin came in, and he was obviously, very keen on studying Kim right from the beginning.
And he said to Kim, I'm Dustin. And Kim says, yes, Mr. Hoffman. And then he said, Kim, I want you to look at me. With almost the same words that Barry Morrow had said to him. He says, we make friends and we can look in each other's eyes.
It really made it important to me. Until Rain Man, I felt cut off from everybody. I needed something except for our own family.
Several times Kim would get up and walk around the room and do this with his hands, or else he'd look at his fingers and stuff. And I noticed that Dustin, following right with him, was mimicking everything Kim was doing.
As if he's sort of trying on a new coat.
1957, lifetime batting average, 298.
Great books he reads, huh?
Reads and remembers whatever he gets his hands on.
Dustin walked up to him and he put his hands on his shoulders and he touched noses with him and he says, Kim, I may be the star, but you're the heavens.
I may be the star, but you're the heavens.
Before I go, he says, I need to talk to your dad and you and Barry. And we took us off to one side and he says, you have to promise me something. He says, you'll share this guy with the world. So I said, well, I'll talk to my family, and I don't know how I'm going to do it because I don't want to put a mentally retarded people on display and have a sideshow. I said, that would be horrible. I would never do that. And he says, figure something out.
Men idén om att exponera Kim och hans talanger för omvärlden gillade inte familjen.
They didn't want me to do it. They said the two women thought it would be very embarrassing, and I understood that. And I said, well, that's the one thing I have to not do is to embarrass the family or him. But I really don't want him to just be a savant locked up in a closet. I said, well.
Hittills har Kim och Fran talat inför 2 miljoner människor. De tar aldrig betalt, men arrangörerna kan donera pengar till en fond för personer med särskilda behov. $20 miljoner har tillskrivits fonden hittills. Idag ska Kim tala på The National Guards julmiddag.
The snow is snowing and the wind it is blowing, but I can weather the storm. What do I care how much it may storm?
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the playing of the national anthem.
What do you think of talking to so many people?
Really great too. Really makes me when I'm important to, because I love being around people. Oh, then you see by the dawn's early light, but so proudly we hail that the twilight's last gleaming and the rocket's red glare.
The thing that's going to make him grow is environment and challenge and goals, and love him, and let's see what can happen.
And the home of the brave. You wouldn't even think I would be more like a Whitney Houston style.
I'd like to propose a toast to the Secretary of the United States Army. To the Secretary of the United States Army.
I said, Bush, Bushy.
To the President of the United States.
Bushy, Bushy.
To the President of the United States.
As he's used his particular skills or capacity, he's grown a great deal socially, and even his ability to care for himself and daily living skills and so forth.
Please help me welcome him by giving him a warm round of applause. I give you Mr. Kim Peek.
Here we go. I said I was setting out.
What he likes to do is he likes to have you asking questions. When's your birthday?
April 7th, 1965.
It was a Wednesday, and this shit's a Friday, and you retire in 2030 on a Sunday.
How many presidents have there been?
Washington, John Adams, Jefferson, Monroe, John Quincy Adams, Jackson, Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, Tyler Polk, Taylor Fillmore, Pierce Buchanan, Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, Grant Hayes, Garfield Arthur, Cleveland, Benjamin Harrison, Cleveland again, McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Theodore Franklin Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, the elder George Bush, Clinton, the younger George Bush.
Thank you.
I did it.
Who served the shortest?
William Henry Harrison, 30 days.
When?
1841, March, April. And on Palm Sunday.
Unbelievable.
I could talk to you a lot about this. 73 seconds, 1802. 1770 to 1827. In 1762. 3 days and 3 hours. July 21st, 1861. 227 Northwest Front Street. Da, 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 da.
Do you think it's a danger that people like Kim can become a traveling circus?
People often ask me, isn't that sort of an exploitation? No. I mean, he loves that feedback just like everybody else does. What should we do? Should we try to eliminate the defect of their behavior to make them all more like us? Or should we, on the contrary, train the talent that they have?
Go ahead, man. Everyone to know.
Sebastian Bach, how old was he when he died? And how many pieces
65.
All right, and how many
More
pieces?
than 1,200.
More than 1,200 pieces of music?
Everything you love is everything you want.
I just learned that in class.
His knowledge is so extensive that you almost hesitate to ask him a question because you kind of feel like an adult when he just blurts it right back at you.
Can you ask us your favorite joke? Or
like
tell
to
us
be
your
around.
favorite joke?
No.
No?
No, we've done it. The task is done.
We had a phone call from an admiral. The admiral says, what I'd like to do when I pick you guys up at the airport tomorrow, he says, that's my assignment. I'll have a card with Kim's name on it. We'll go directly to your hotel, drop your bags off. I want to take him over to the White House to meet President Clinton because he's a personal friend of mine. I'm sure he'd like to meet Kim. And Kim says, I do not want to go to the White House. And the admiral says, yes, you do. Everybody wants to go to the White House. And what did you say?
Monica's not my kind of woman. That is just broken.
It's, I don't know if it's sad, but it's unique to see his father take him around. And, we were just talking about, maybe that's his happiness, is that he gets to share that knowledge and that experience. And that's truly a life fulfilled.
Learn to recognize and respect differences in others. Treat them as much as they want them to treat you so we can have a better world to live in and you don't have a handicap to be different. Everybody's different. Let's get home. All you men, all you women, all you sir. Good night.
Sometimes people say they almost feel a little guilty themselves, having looked at that almost as if that was I part of a a show or whatever. And I'm saying, at least in my experience, not, because the savants, they love people liking their artwork or their music or their mathematical skills. The exploitation would come in if one really took some kind of monetary or mercenary sort of interest. And the parents that I've seen have really scrupulously avoided that.
Kims fäbless för snabb mat och ovilja att träna har gjort att Fran på senare tid på allvar börjat oroa sig för Kims hälsa.
I just hope he stays healthy. 4 years ago he had a heart problem and almost lost him. He came back in about 3 months from that, and he's been fine since.
Men vad händer när den 80-åriga Fran inte finns där längre? Mamma Jeannie är för gammal och Kim kräver passning 24 timmar om dygnet. Fran har kontaktat olika vårdhem. Men vårdhem är en lösning som smärtar. För det sista Fran önskar är att Kim blir isolerad, slutar träffa människor och slutar utvecklas.
Well, I worry about that a lot. I think that we've flown 1,650,000 miles. Maybe the airplane will crash. We're both gone at the same time. That's the only perfect answer. But that's a terrible way to look at things. I would hate to lose that mind that he has in him. To me, it wouldn't matter as much, but for him, it would really matter, and for all the people that have known him.
He's not going to slip away and be lost to some back ward institution. It isn't going to happen. Not when television stations all over the world and magazines and the movie itself, they've made him a world icon. And he is the most unusual person to perhaps ever live. So there's that. But what do you lose when you lose Fran? Well, what we lose is the interpreter. You know, Fran is the code talker because Kim speaks in elliptical ways, and Fran knows all the pieces of the puzzle that Kim isn't sharing because he's past it already. And Fran walks behind like the elephant sweeping up while Kim marches on forward with all this going on. And if we don't have Fran there, who's going to tell us what we're missing?
Mozart's first opera.
Bastan and Bastiana when he was 12 years old.
And last composition?
Requiem in D minor, 626. Wait a minute. 1797, 1828, 1811, 1886, 1685, 1759.
The search to understand how intelligence or special talent relates to the structure of the brain is a story that goes back 200 years. I don't think we're really any closer to it now. I don't think we're quite with the conceptual knowledge and technology to explain how Kim does what he does.
Pennsylvania, oh. Cincinnati, oh. Pittsburgh, oh.